Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is AES and welcome to my YouTube channel. When it came to last year's Game Awards, there seemed to have been an argument among the gaming community between two games as far as which was more worthy of the Game of the Year award is concerned. The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. The relationship between these two games has been prevalent since June of 2020, when the latter was released and received with generally high praise. While some people confirmed the critically acclaimed scores, others have denounced it due to open world design that is similar to the more recent Ubisoft titles, or an attempt by gamers to artificially inflate the scores in a way to get back at the more controversial narrative decisions that were carried out by last year's Game of the Year winner. Today's video will not compare both of those games, since it is an idea that may be explored at a later date. Instead, we will cover the ins and outs of the latest samurai game by Sucker Punch and see into which camp do I belong. Do I think that it is one of the best PlayStation 4 exclusives, or do I side with the people who cannot support the title due to baffling design mechanics? Time to find out. Without further ado, let's review Ghost of Tsushima, which was released in 2020 and for the purpose of transparency was played on the PlayStation 5. I should also note that I played it before the definitive edition was released, which means that I received a 60 frames per second boost, but none of the other fancy additions that were attached to the aforementioned version. Story. You play as an upcoming samurai named Jin Sakai. He is focused on the ideals of a samurai and how to fight with honor. Unfortunately for him, he is at the losing end of a bout that teaches him two important lessons: how to get back up after everything is taken away from him, and how to deal with situations where your enemies do not share a similar commitment to honor. I will not spoil anything major in this review, but you have seen similar narrative beats in other samurai-based forms of media, such as 2003's The Last Samurai and 2018's Shadow. Nevertheless, it does not change the sense of enjoyment that I felt while experiencing Jin's story. The main characters are likable, the antagonist, while bombarded with cliches, executes his role in a tolerable manner, and the conclusion does offer a player-based choice, which is always appreciated. The story in Ghost of Tsushima did not wow me by any stretch, but I would be lying if I said that I was not encouraged to see it to its bittersweet ending. Visuals and audio design. Regardless of your opinion on Ghost of Tsushima's story or gameplay, one undeniable truth is that Sucker Punch have created something truly special with the game's presentation. We will start with the visuals, and I will go ahead and say that Ghost of Tsushima is the most visually impressive title that came out in 2020. The environments are gorgeous, the animations are incredibly smooth, the lighting is extremely admirable. If I had to nitpick anything, it would be the character models. They look great, don't get me wrong, but they did not make my jaw drop as often as the other graphical aspects of Ghost of Tsushima. Audio-wise, I have zero complaints. The music is simply perfect.
Unbelievable. Sucker Punch presents, okay. Ghost of Tsushima, nice. What a really well done intro.
The audio cues of sword slashing, horseback riding, and leaves floating in the air add to the player's immersion in the world of Jin Sakai. The other aspect of the audio that should be commended is the voiceover performances, and the actors and actresses pass the test with flying colors. Every told line exemplifies the character's personality and ideals.
We can look for a gap in the front wall. Slip inside.
And cut down the Mongols where they stand.
If something goes wrong, they'll kill the prisoners. I've seen them do it. We have to go in quietly.
Like thieves.
What's wrong with that?
Before the samurai, this island was ruled by criminals. We changed that by creating order and delivering justice in the open. We live by a code of honor. And sometimes we die by it.
And there are several scenes that were surprisingly emotional. One in particular happens at the halfway point where you escape a dangerous situation on your horse. Ghost of Tsushima deservedly won an award last year for art direction, and if it was up to me, I would also give them the award for the best audio design. Gameplay. Ghost of Tsushima's gameplay is divided into three sections: normal encounters, boss encounters, and exploration. Let's focus on the last point and move backwards. Many gamers purchase games that will give them a lot of bang for the buck, and Ghost of Tsushima is such a case. The world is vast and wide, and you have plenty of incentives to explore. You can strike bamboo sticks, you can write haikus in a calm atmosphere.
A world's reflection. Growth that shelters all it sees. Sturdy do we stand.
You can find hot springs, pillars of honor, and Shinto shrines, all of which aid in upgrading Jin's abilities and skills. You can also search for lighthouses, which resemble the radio towers from Ubisoft's Far Cry franchise. Lastly, you have side quests that primarily rely on a fetch quest or a task to kill a group of enemies. All of these activities contribute to enhancing your connection to the world and character's progression. At the same time though, they can further strengthen the comparison between Ghost of Tsushima and the previously mentioned Far Cry franchise. If you're not a fan of traversing environments for several minutes to find a collectible, or interact with a side mission that is not nearly as good as the main quest, then you may experience sections of boredom. Thankfully, your opinion of the title's gameplay will change as soon as you engage in combat scenarios. First up are the normal encounters. Although you have opportunities to stealthily take out enemies, it is much more fun to fight your foes head-on. You typically start with a face-off, which kickstarts a cinematic introduction that pits you against your opponent, and you must time your attack to beautifully strike one or more enemies. From that point onward, you alternate between offense and defense, in addition to several stances that apply to specific enemies. One stance will not work for some enemies, and you are encouraged to experiment with different sword attacks, melee attacks, and equipment like a bow and arrow and smoke bombs. Every regular fight felt rewarding, even if they become easy once you remember the timing of your opponent's moves. Those battles may not offer a noticeable challenge, but the boss fights will quench that thirst for you. Whether they are special battles that are found during the story, or cool one-on-one duels that you will find while exploring the island. These experiences are tough, exciting, and memorable. They will also offer those situations where your ability to decide between a parry and a dodge will be tested to its limits. The boss fights are absolutely the best part of Ghost of Tsushima and illustrate why I adore the combat system in Ghost of Tsushima. The final part of the title's gameplay revolves around its multiplayer component. Titled Ghost of Tsushima Legends, the multiplayer is your chance to cooperatively work with 3 other players to take on a number of tough, combat-based challenges. It can be fun, but there is an issue that falls under the lack of a skill-based matchmaking. Sometimes you match up with players who are way higher ranked than you, making the challenges insultingly easy. Other times you match up with players who are way lower ranked than you, and if you are not up to snuff, prepare to see your health bar swiftly deplete. If you have a group of friends with whom you start from scratch, then you'll be fine. Generally speaking, I mostly love the gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima, and the combat system is a wonderful foundation block for something that can be further explored in Ghost of Tsushima Part 2. Fun factor: outside of certain unexciting side missions and dull moments of world traversal, I had an absolute blast with Ghost of Tsushima. The gameplay is fun and offers experimentation, the story is pretty good, and searching the environments for collectibles, while monotonous at times, did offer cool moments such as interacting with foxes and writing haikus. If you ever want to place yourself in the shoes of a samurai and experience the good and bad parts of that responsibility, Ghost of Tsushima is certainly your best pick to do so at the moment. Impressions on PlayStation trophies. At the beginning of this video I mentioned a comparison between Ghost of Tsushima and the latest Ubisoft titles such as Watch Dogs Legion and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That comparison applies to Ghost of Tsushima's trophy list. The challenges are ironically not very challenging, but they can be time-consuming due to the world's size. You have the mandatory story-based trophies that you will automatically get upon the completion of the game. You have the collectible-related tasks that are self-explanatory and will take most of your time. Lastly, you have the other miscellaneous / combat-related objectives, such as defeating the maximum number of enemies within a single standoff, or defeating 20 enemies with a counterattack after a perfect parry. Due to how much I like Ghost of Tsushima, I was immediately incentivized to work for the Platinum Trophy, and it helped that there are no difficulty-related trophies. Ghost of Tsushima's Platinum Trophy is manageable, as well as fun to achieve. When should you pick it up? Despite my desire to 100% recommend Ghost of Tsushima at full price, I think that it will be a good idea for you to sit back and question whether you enjoy Ubisoft's open world titles such as Ghost Recon Wildlands and Far Cry 4. Ghost of Tsushima is light years ahead of those two examples, but it shares one key aspect. You will be spending a lot of time walking or riding from point A to point B. If you're okay with it, then a $60 purchase of Ghost of Tsushima is a no-brainer. Otherwise, I would wait until it is half price. Honestly, it is what I did. On a side note, I would advise that you check out the PlayStation 5 version of Ghost of Tsushima if you own Sony's latest console and do not own Sucker Punch's latest title. It is indeed the best way to experience Jin's story, even though I have my reservations of spending an extra $30 if I already own the PlayStation 4 version of Ghost of Tsushima. In the end, Ghost of Tsushima is easily the best samurai-based game that I've ever played and one of the best exclusives on the PlayStation 4. Jin's road to redemption is engaging, the combat system is superb, especially in the boss fights. The graphics and sound design are top-notch, and the multiplayer has its moments of shine. For the sake of argument, I will say that The Last of Us Part 2 is a better game as a whole, but I will save my reasoning for another video. Ultimately, Sucker Punch has created a fantastic first entry in a new franchise that I hope continues for at least 2 more titles. If Ghost of Tsushima 2 improves upon the original, like Uncharted 2 Among Thieves did with Uncharted Drake's Fortune, the sequel to one of 2020's best games may automatically be my game of the year upon release. I will give Ghost of Tsushima from 2020 a 9.3 out of 10. Well folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. What are your thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima? How does it fare against The Last of Us Part 2? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Till next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is AES, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.